Yo guys, what is going on? Got a Ragnaloadmon deck profile for you guys. So this has been a really fun deck I've been messing around with for the Set 6 format. I know it's an old favorite of a lot of players here who remember this deck from 1.5, so myself included. I really love how you can play this either with a black base or a red base. This version is a black build of Ragnaloadmon, so it utilizes the D-Digivolve inherited effects of your Legend Arm cards. So yeah, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. So starting off with the Digi-Eggs, just playing 4 copies of Pagumon and 1 copy of Kapurimon. Pagumon, I think, is the best one. He's just a really fantastic Digi-Egg in this format. Being able to float into another black Digimon, just getting that free plus to your hand is really, really nice. And then Kapurimon is the one that gives plus 1,000 to a reboot Digimon. So this is nice, especially because Ragnaloadmon does have reboots. So it puts him to 15,000, letting you attack over Bonds or Valder Arm or other level 7s at that 14,000 threshold. So that is it for the Digitamas, and then for the Digimon themselves. For the rookies, we've got 4 copies of the Black Searcher Ludomon. So this guy has the on-play effect of on play, you reveal top 5 cards of your deck, and you get to add a Ragnaloadmon as well as a Digimon with Legend Arms in its type. So it's one of the first Digimon that actually lets you search 2, and it does get you the Ragnalord and any of your other pieces to your hand, being level 3, 4, 5, or 6. You have Legend Arm Digimon at every single level. So the searchability of this deck is really nice. And then, of course, also playing 4 copies of one of the best level 3s, 1 black level 3s in the game currently. From BT6, we've got 4 copies of Chikurimon. So this card has the security effect of, at the end of the battle, you get to trigger D-Digivolve -1 on one of your opponent's Digimon. So you have a lot of cards in this deck that let you D-Digivolve your opponent's dudes and just control the tempo of the game from there. Now, against a lot of decks, this is not super powerful, like against 3 Musketeers or decks that just hard play Digimon. These effects don't really do anything. But you do have other cards for those types of strategies. So then for the other level 3s, playing 2 copies of Junkmon and then 2 copies of Chumon. Chumon, I think, is a staple. If you can run this card or any of the memory chokers, you definitely should, because the memory boost cards are so prominent in the meta. So this card is really nice. And then, of course, being able to gain a memory on deletion, especially when this is underneath one of your blockers Digimon. This is really nice because you can potentially block one of your opponent's Digimon and then end the turn if they are at 0. So that's it for the black level 3s, and then just the other guys I'm playing is 2 copies of Zubamon. So he is a red level 3. You cannot evolve this card in this deck, but he has the same exact effect of Ludomon. So you are playing 6 searchers in this particular build, so you get to just play him, search for your Ragnalord as well as your pieces, and then he also counts as a red source for some of the option cards I am playing in this deck as well. So that is it for the level 3 lineup. And then for the level 4 lineup, I'm maxing out on pretty much most of the Legend Arm cards, so 4 copies of Taiyo Ludomon. Taiyo Ludomon lets you trigger D-Digivolve -1 on one of your opponent's Digimon if this Digimon is level 7. So he has the same inherited effect as the Ultimate Raiji Ludomon as well, so potentially through 1 swing of Ragnaloadmon, you can D-Digivolve 2 things by 1 stage, or 1 thing by 2 stages, if you see what I'm getting at. So this guy's really nice, and then being at 4 play cost is actually really nice. If you are at 3, like if with your Memory Tamer, you can sometimes just play this, put your opponent to 1, and just play the slow game like that. So overall, really nice inherited effect. And then for the other Digimon, playing a lot of blockers, so playing 4 copies of Sealsdramon. I think this guy is really amazing, this format, because the 6,000 blockers are much more relevant in a lot of situations, and then being a 5 play cost is also really nice against things like security control. When you want to just take the matchup very slowly, you can just hard play this from your hand, and it's really nice. And then for the other blockers, playing 2 copies of Dark Tyrannomon. That being said, while the 5,000 blockers are not super amazing, having a 1 cost to Digivolve, especially in your breeding area, because this deck does like to hide in the breeding area quite a bit, this is pretty nice. And then just 1 copy of Mechanorimon. because if you can play Ragnaloadmon, you definitely should this format. He's really amazing against the Bond decks and just any deck that likes to swarm the field. So then for the level 5s, I'm playing 4 copies of Ragnaloadmon. So again, this guy is searchable by all of your little guys. He is a Legend Arms type, and then also he is only a 6 play cost, so being able to start your turn at 3 and then passing back to your opponent, putting them at 3 is not the most terrible thing in the world. And then also, of course, he's got that when attacking D-Digivolve -1 inherited effect similar to the level 4. So that's it for your level 5s that are the Legend Arms. And then for the other level 5s, playing 2 copies of Gogmamon. Gogmamon is just a really amazing card in multiple regards. Fantastic security effect and fantastic main effect. So his main effect is Digiburst 1, and you can give something plus 2,000 until the end of your opponent's next turn. So that is super relevant. Not only can you boost him, like if you bring him out with 3 sources underneath, you can boost himself to 13,000 or anything on your field plus 6,000, right? But not only that, it lasts until the end of the next turn, so then it makes it harder for your opponent to, say if they're playing a yellow deck or yellow option cards, makes them harder to reduce your Digimon via DP, makes it harder for them to swing over your Digimon, because if you put him to 13,000 and then like swing at your opponent's security, he's suspended, he's still 13,000 during your opponent's turn, so they'd have to have basically like a level 6 or 7 to be able to swing over him. So it's really nice for those kind of early to mid game security checks as well. And then not only that, but then the plus 1,000 inherited during all turns is again relevant because you are playing Ragnalord, who can have the inherited effect of blockers. So making your Digimon a 15,000 blocker as opposed to just 14 is extremely relevant versus both the Bond matchups, right? Against Gabumon, it's almost like they can't even do anything if you've got something like a Mechanori as well as a Ragnalord. They can't bounce back the Ragnalord or bottom deck, I mean, so this is really amazing for that. And then for the Jesmon matchup, I am playing 2 copies of Rebellion. I do like this card a lot, first of all, because it is a black and purple dual color, so you can still, despite this being a purple card, this doesn't break with your level 6s because all of your level 6s evolve from black Digimon, and this is counted as a black during all turns. Now, the only thing that you can't do is if you do have this card in your breeding area, you can't like Digivolve, say like a Ragnaloadmon on top of this in the breeding area, since it doesn't have an effect. So that's why I'm kind of only playing 2 copies of this, because you don't want to see it too often, to where if you're trying to build up in your breeding area, you don't really want this card because you need to have it on the field to resolve its effect, as well as being treated as multiple colors. And then also, since this isn't like a purple deck or a 3 Musketeer deck, you don't really want to discard that many cards, so resolving this more than a couple times does not feel the best. But I do think this is really relevant, especially because when you're trying to build up into your Ragnalord, this deck is very, very slow, so being able to just wait out a couple turns while if your opponent's playing Jesmon and not get OTK by them, this definitely helps with that. So that is it for the level 5s. For the level 6s, of course, we are playing the main level 6s here, 3 copies of Ragnaloadmon and 2 copies of Durandamon. So these guys are both level 6 vanillas, quote-unquote vanillas. They have inherited effects, but no main effects. They're both 10 play cost and can both evolve for a 3 cost on top of black and red Digimon, also both 12,000 DP. The only difference between them is that Ragnaloadmon has the blocker inherited, whereas Durandamon has the piercing inherited. So these guys are really good, especially against matchups where you can just hard play this and you don't necessarily care about how much memory you're giving your opponent. Something like Security Control or 3 Musketeers, playing these is pretty nice, especially because you can then go the next turn into Ragnalord, possibly for free. These cards are great. Okay, now the only issue is, of course, that they're vanillas on field, so you're playing 5 cards, 5 level 6s that don't really do anything for you. However, you need to play a lot of them, even though you're playing the searches, you need to play a lot of them, because if you're going to Ragnalord, being able to put these underneath him, making him a blocker or a blocker piercer, is really essential to your strategy, especially because Ragnalord will usually check for at least a couple of security cards, right? So that is your vanilla lineup. And then for the other Digimon, just playing 1 copy of Craniumon and 1 copy of Crescarumon. Now, after testing this for a while, I would probably I would consider changing out the Creskagurumon for a second Craniumon, because Craniumon allows you to protect all of your blockers by card effects. This card is so amazing in this format, being able to counter 3 Musketeers and Agubond, and any deck that has cards that remove via deletion, right? Stuff like Security Control, and any red deck, any black deck playing like Iron Fist Onslaught or anything like that. You guys know what I mean. So the Craniumon is fantastic. However, I did just want like an extra level 6 that like actually does something. And why Creskagurumon? Well, Creskagurumon is kind of like a stand-in for Omnimon's Wart in this deck. You can't really play Wart in this deck. You can't really play any other level 7s because you need to play multiple copies of Ragnaloadmon. But what you can do is you can Digivolve into this guy. He's got Reboot, so your opponent can't interact with them unless they're wasting a removal card on this. And if they do, that's fine. That's one less removal card you need to worry about for your Ragnaloadmon. And then when Digivolving, you get to reveal top card of your deck for each Digimon your opponent has, so really punishes your opponent for going wide, and then you get to just play any level 5 or lower black or red Digimon. So any of these cards, aside from the Rebellion, of course, you can just play from your hand, or from the top of your deck with this card, so it's really nice. So then that is it for the level 6 lineup. And then for the level 7s, of course, just playing your 3 copies of Ragnaloadmon. I don't think you need 4. 3 is consistent enough, especially because you can search it off of your 6 Digimon, and you don't want to see this card early game. This is a level 7 that you Digivolve into for a 3 cost, but he does have the effect where if you're Digivolving him and you have one of these 2 in your hand, you can put them underneath him to gain back the 3 memory, essentially making him a 0 cost. However, Chumon and the other memory chokers do get around that effect, so hence why I don't think it is like the most amazing on Digivolve effect. However, he does also have Security, Attack +1, and Reboot, so being able to swing with this for multiple checks, especially because I'm playing 2 copies of Tai, this is really, really nice. Being able to check multiple cards, has Piercing, Blocker, and then he'll unsuspend during your opponent's unsuspend phase. So that is really amazing, and to kind of help with those security checks, I am playing 1 copy of Delicate Plan, because Ragnaloadmon is actually a red Digimon, so if you bring him out of the breeding area, for example, and then you can then play a Delicate Plan, or if you've got Tai on the field, you will also meet that requirement for a red Digimon, and then of course playing other red Digimon like the Durandamon and the Zubamon you saw. So then for the last couple of cards in the deck, just option cards, 2 copies of Gaia Force. I was playing Iron Fisted Onslaught, which I definitely do think is a little bit more consistent. However, Gaia Force lets you pick your target rather than just having to go for your opponent's highest DP Digimon. So I think the little lack of consistency that you're doing with the Gaia Force does make it up, because Gaia Force is just like a unconditional like destroy something, right? But you could definitely swap this out with Iron Fisted Onslaught if you so choose. And then the last consistency card, just 2 copies of Black Memory Boost to round off the deck. But anyways, guys, that is going to be the deck profile. Let me know what you think about Ragnaloadmon down in the comments below, and any suggestions for the deck are, of course, always welcome. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.